So just getting going then. This slide should be familiar. We reviewed this last time. Just again, reinforcing the idea that social media is clutch for our community members connecting with more direct audiences, being able to follow some of your regional and local leaders versus pumping out all of our information on national channels, which goes to a very widespread global audience. Our hope is that after this webinar, you'll be able to connect with some of the people in your community that can help spread your message a bit farther. So again, just reinforcing that idea. So let's get into it. Why are influencers important? A social media influencer, to start, first of all, is someone on social media who has established credibility in a specific industry. Obviously, for us, for the most part, we're talking green building, sustainability, energy efficiency, etc. A social media influencer has access to a large audience and can persuade others by virtue of their authenticity and reach. Research shows that 49% of consumers seek purchase guidance from social media influencers, and 20% said that a tweet from an influencer, that's one person influencer, inspired them to share their own product recommendation. So what's most important that you can pull out of this, nearly 40% of Twitter users said that they had made a purchase as a direct result of an influencer's tweet. So sometimes advertisements or tweets that come from organizations that seem promotional or ad heavy, sometimes people don't respond to that as well. And when they have a direct recommendation or a direct product endorsement, people tend to listen a little bit more closely and take it a bit more seriously. So that's why it's in all of our best interest to connect with influencers that are important to our particular campaign, event, or message that you might be going out with. So who are your influencers? This is just to reiterate what we discussed, that idea that people like that peer-to-peer recommendation a bit better. Who are your brand ambassadors? Who can stretch your campaign message the farthest? And who can influence people's perspectives on your mission for the long haul? These are just a few examples of some notable influencers on Twitter. As we know, these are people that have millions of followers and millions of retweets with every post. But are they influential to our message? Probably not, although I did hear a rumor before that Taylor Swift does live in a LEED certified apartment building in New York City, as a side note. But while these are influencers across social media globally, they're not people we want to reach out to necessarily, because they're not people that are going to promote our message and don't necessarily have a mission that align with ours. So what we want to do is pull out and help you find those influencers that can do just that can amplify your message the farthest. I'm going to use Lead Bracket. This is our second year running, and it was almost a surprisingly super successful campaign when we ran it last year. And I sort of started from scratch, so I thought it would be a good way to show how I went about the whole process of finding influencers and people that I wanted to tag in these tweets to ensure that our message was getting as far and wide as possible. First and foremost, obviously, your hashtag. I picked Lead Bracket. Remember, when you pick a hashtag for a particular event, or if there's already one associated with something you're attending, if it's Green Apple Day, you should know that the official hashtag for that is hashtag Green Apple Day. I chose Lead Bracket because, it's short and sweet. I really wanted Lead Madness, but I didn't want to open ourselves up to trolling, so to speak, online, just because there are haters out there. And so we went with Lead Bracket just to avoid controversy in that way. And be aware of that. Look, when you're creating hashtags for events, type it out, see how it looks, make sure there isn't any sort of awkward wording in there that you wouldn't have expected or you didn't think of when you read it in your head. Just a good idea in everybody's best interest. So when it came to finding influencers for this particular campaign, I started first with just looking up the school itself. Obviously, I wanted to make sure I had the official university handle. From there, I built out like who I wanted to be attached to this messaging. So for this example, all I did was keyword search GWU, and anybody that has GW in their profile or in their description in any way is going to come up. So from there, I was able, this is CU Boulder example. As you can see, same thing. I just typed in CU Boulder and I got all these different accounts that are worth mentioning when it comes to composing messaging. So school officials, school athletics, as you can see, both basketball teams, coaches, other indoor sports, volleyball teams typically play in the same arena as a lot of the basketball teams. Spirit squads, cheerleading squads, a few arenas had their own handle, but that's not common. Alumni associations, huge for this campaign. Alumni comes out big time. And that's that makes sense in a lot of ways because most of our followers are of that age bracket. School president, school newspaper, their green team, sustainability societies, and then, of course, anybody who's formerly tweeting, presently tweeting. I'll go back and research that and make sure that I tag people that have already shown keen interest in the subject matter. And then the Sports Alliance, the Green Sports Alliance, of course, I tag in everything since they're a pretty strong partner. And there's also coverage that we got last year from the handle Green Sports blog, so I was sure to include that. Along with the handles, I always want to make sure that I'm including hashtags so that I can join conversations that are trending and are important to our subject matter. So when I initially started creating messaging, I was always sure that I included March Madness. As you know, a lot of these official hashtags on Twitter will also have emojis associated with them if they're a big enough deal or if they're sort of certified in that way. So again, just sort of a fun way to keep the posts interactive. NCAA. And then as we went through each round, each of these were trending hashtags. So when we had our Sweet 16, I was sure to include that, Elite 8, Final Four, etc. As these things are trending, I want to bring our topic into those conversations. Just things to keep in mind. And then we're just going to go through now the how to tag each of those people. I wanted to bring up this slide again because you should have seen it before. I used this once in a presentation, or these screenshots once in a presentation for community members. And just a reminder, you can direct message people here from their Twitter screen in the corner. Same with Facebook, same with LinkedIn. Not everybody has direct message options, in which case you can just tweet at them, which is just the tab to the left. And then you can also photo tag, which is a really efficient way to reach maximum number of people. In a tweet, you can tag up to 10 people, and on Instagram, you can tag up to 20 people. So what that means is that anybody listed in that group is going to get a singular notification from, in this case, USGBC, that they were specifically mentioned. So it just makes sure that the notification comes through their newsfeed and it's alarm bells as obvious as possible. In this example, I did Philadelphia Green Apple Day, and I just showed the different people I would have wanted to connect with if I wanted them to come out to our Green Apple Day in the city of Philadelphia, wherever that might hypothetically be. I included the mayor, I included education reporters, Philadelphia school system, Philly student unions. So I just wanted to review that so that some of this information didn't look brand new. So when it came to lead bracket, these are some of the examples of people that I wanted to make sure that I tagged. In the beginning, when we first started, we have lots of teams, so I don't have the opportunity to tag for each university as granularly as I might want to. So I keep it as broad as possible. I make sure, you can see in the bottom here, you can make sure I include each athletic team to the best of my ability, but that's pretty much the best I can do. And then as we start to face off, I'm able to incorporate other handles that are more specific to each team. So as we can see by the end over here with GW and CU Boulder, which is our final, I'm able to tag things like the newspaper or the student union. As you can see, I can tag both basketball teams, men's and women's. That just makes it so I am reaching as many student, alumni, staff possibilities as possible. You never know who has a super influential following sometimes, like we said, getting to individuals versus entire teams versus entire organizations sometimes just give you a little bit more lift than you might expect. You see it even with our own Twitter oftentimes with the number of retweets that Rick would get and Mahesh continues to get versus sometimes what goes out from the organization itself. I notice a lot of discrepancy sometimes in that where Rick or Mahesh could outdo USGBC's posts by double. So it's interesting how that comes about. And then, of course, up here are just examples at the top of people that covered in prior posts who retweeted or covered this particular campaign. I wanted to make sure that I alerted them again with each new round and was sure to tag those people because they've already proven themselves as influencers. This is just coverage as well, as you see at Buildings Media. That was coverage that we got. An article written right around the time we first launched the campaign this year. And we had a few write-ups last year as well, which I didn't include in this, but obviously making sure that I include them since they took the time to cover the campaign entirely. And then payoff. So the very cool thing, the most successful thing I would say about Lead Bracket is there's 100% institutional participation on Twitter. So every single university, every single arena, there's some form of university participation on the other end. And I see that as super successful, the fact that either way, every university is still engaging, whether they advance or not. Obviously, as we grow, it would be great to see certain institutions step up more and have more involvement, but there's only so much within your control in that way. 100 plus total retweets for the campaign. I mean, as you know, it only runs about 2 to 3 weeks, so that's pretty decent. All in all, we have over 1,000 total votes. I wanted to mention sometimes some outliers that happen just because sometimes things happen without reason necessarily, and I don't want people to be discouraged. So, for example, this year I found that when I researched the hashtags associated with March Madness, they weren't as popular as last year. And my numbers weren't as strong as last year, only minimally, but I did get more votes last year in rounds 2 and 3. So there are outliers like that. It could just be that this year was less exciting. Maybe Villanova had a little bit more push in terms of fan base last time, and there was more talk of the tournament in general. And then also sometimes there are major announcements that happen or breaking news that you just can't be in control of, or certain press conferences. And when you have more competition on the internet like that, it does become more of a struggle to get your stuff in people's newsfeed. There's more messaging. There's the system itself, the newsfeed itself is moving quickly. And it just could be that you're not able to get as strong of reach. So keep in mind, sometimes certain things are out of your control. We're just trying to focus right now on the things that you can do most definitely to advance your messaging. And then another tip I came out of this year is last year, because it was sort of a trial run, and I'm guilty of this in general oftentimes. I didn't do as well a job of logging everything as I would have liked to. So I would say that always make sure that you are taking note pre, during, and post-campaign as best you can of anything that's notable, essentially. So all of my statistics last year I hadn't entirely formulated and studied, so I had to go back around this year and search the hashtag again and go all the way back to that information and see how it performed so that I even could compare and contrast this year and last year. So just remembering that data and keeping track of that is important, because you want to be able to revisit it following years, particularly naturally if it's something that is a yearly or annual event.